Welcome to our podcast, This Life, the Chronicles of Autism Mums. I'm Alison Saraf, and I'm joined each week by amazing women who happen to have children on the spectrum. We talk about navigating the ups and downs of parenting kids with autism and how that affected us and our lives as women, professionals, and mothers. Strap in, grab some tissues. Sometimes you'll cry from empathy and others from laughter. Join us on our journey of This Life. Hi, I'm Alison and welcome to This Life podcast and continuing our World Cup special series. I'm joined by Huma and Moira today. Hi, ladies. Hello. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be finishing our World Cup specials by talking about our experiences and our best advice for families that are going to be attending large events. So that could be a World Cup game because obviously we're all anticipating, excited about our World Cup tickets and attending these big games. But also this applies to, so many things that we, plan and do on a daily basis. That could be kind of vacations. It could be concerts, theatre, anything where, you're in a public space and, you're going to be around other people. So I think first I want to start by talking about, what are the things that you consider when you have an idea or you want to, do a day trip or, when you want to visit a big venue, what are the things, that you might consider and what might you plan ahead for, to make these experiences pleasurable and manageable for you and your children and your families? Moira.
Okay. So first of all, we probably, other than whether it's of interest to everybody.
Right. Important.
Yeah. If it's of interest to the adults and not the children, still happens.
Right.
Length of time.
Right.
The whole experience is going to take, like the travel, entry, event, coming home, because sometimes, and the time of day, we would not, and unfortunately a lot of these football games are going to be quite late at night, so that I'm not quite sure how we're going to navigate that, because it's very difficult to get them to sleep when you want them to sleep.
Right.
And then wake up and then go out to something. That's not possible anymore with their age.
Yeah.
But they will be knackered.
Yeah.
And less
flexible?
Engaged and flexible. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, with anything that we do, the time factor is important because everyone's got a limit.
Right.
Including us.
Right. So your patience actually is probably
wears
at an
thin
all-time
quickly,
low.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
by 10 o'clock at night. Yeah, exactly.
10 o'clock in the morning, maybe. Yeah. So, but obviously you have to plan that out, and I don't know if it's going to an attraction on holiday or something. It's going at the quiet time,
Right. Okay.
And whether what you're going to is a quiet event,
Right.
or a noisy event.
And whether or not that affects your child, I think, as well, or whether or not that's a factor that you need to consider.
Definitely. If you've got vocal children,
Right.
that can't always control. So we're constantly, even if it's just standing in a queue and Callum's quite vocal, telling his stories, which to an innocent bystander might sound quite horrific, but that it's part of Jurassic World Dominion, and it's quite aggressive.
Yeah, so he's basically entertaining himself whilst he's in the queue, and is obviously not considering the general public around him, and quite rightly so. So where have you been in those kind of situations where you've
everywhere, anywhere. We constantly have to keep a check on them and just keep reiterating the fact that other people have got no knowledge of what it is he's doing.
Right.
Even if he's doing actions.
Yeah.
or he's walking like a velociraptor or something and making the noises to go with it. I mean, I try to let him just be
and I think that's the thing as well. I mean, it's just going back, to, we've talked about this so many times, and it is, everybody talks about kind of appropriate behavior. And I think, when you're in a therapy session, certainly for some of our children, then that's what is encouraged is appropriate behavior. Yeah. But also...
Well, they're getting older now.
But they are getting older.
So what would be, him pretending to be a velociraptor when he was 5 or 6?
Right.
Everyone would think was cute. Yeah. And now he's 12.
But it's really high expectation. I mean, I wouldn't say high expectations, but it's like, I mean, if I have to stand in a queue for a long time, I would be doing Velociraptor too. It's boring, it's boring, it's tiring. And it's,
of course, no one wants to stand in a queue.
No, exactly. No, they don't want to stand.
And they get tired. It's too much.
We do try and, if there is a fast track option, we do try and take it.
Right. Okay, so that's possible. A good piece of advice. Is fast track it.
It's worth the money.
Yeah, and also kind of standing for those periods of time as well.
But the time you get into the event, everyone's over it.
Right.
So let's just get in while they're still reasonably enthusiastic and enjoy what it is you've come to see.
So do you tend to arrive early for some events as well? So you can kind of, if you can't bypass that by, fast tracking in any way, so you will look for a fast track option if possible, or arrive early so that you can get in and kind of get settled. Yeah. That's what I do on the airplane, actually, is I always try and get there kind of first so that we can get in and get settled, because things were actually a lot easier if you're just kind of sitting.
As long as you can get to the gate quickly and sit down for coffee and a fully charged device, we're all right.
Absolutely. Okay, that's great advice. What about you, Hema? What do you kind of plan for and have anxiety about when you are, kind of going to, event, whether or not that's kind of indoor, outdoor, queuing for a museum, or, what are the considerations that you think about?
I think this same as Moira, you have to plan this out, that they might be hungry or toilet needs or getting bored. So if there's any, reward or something that, I don't know, tablets will be allowed or not, but if it's something like that it should be delayed, that, okay, let's save that for later. Or so you just have to plan this out and then there's just hope for the best. That's the best you can do, because there are some things which are, out of our control. If it's a event that you have to queue up for, you have to do it. If there's a fast track option, of course, that's wonderful. And it helps that I think people will know that there is something different about a certain child. I'm hoping they'll be kind about it, because even when I was growing up and I did not know anything about this thing, when I didn't even have kids, or when my child was young and I wasn't in this world of autism, I would meet certain individuals and I would be like, there is something off, but I did not know what it was. So at that point, I know I'm deviating a bit. At that point, now when I come back, I think that, I wish maybe someone had told me or guided me in that situation on how to behave, so that that initial fear or that initial that unknown, that what do I do in this situation, that I could know what to do. So sometimes I just give the people the benefit of doubt that maybe they'll be all right with us being there. Sometimes they're not, Sometimes you get to hear things, people telling me how to parent, or,
Yeah, exactly.
So you just have to be...
Right. I mean, to be honest, for me, planning for, a day trip, whatever that might be, I still kind of tend to follow my own rules. And to be honest with you, I've noticed that a lot of my anxiety, my children feel. So Noah specifically will feel that. He's quite intuitive. So if I'm stressed about something,
happy mummy.
Well, exactly. Happy mummy, are you happy? Because, I want everyone, if we're taking the time, spending money, making the effort to do something, then I want everyone to have a good time. But in the process of that, my anxiety levels, without even realizing very often, are just kind of going through the roof, because I'm so focused on kind of controlling the situation and making sure everything is kind of planned for, so I can anticipate anything that's going to happen. And I think I've become so used to doing it that I don't even realize that I'm doing it. So I'll make sure that obviously everyone's been to the bathroom before they go. I'll look at trying to figure out where the toilets are before we, get into a massive queue, or if we're going to be in a, kind of large group. I'll make sure that I've got water. I'll make sure that I've got snacks, because snacks is a huge thing for us. If we don't have snacks and somebody's hungry, then I have my own velociraptor.
You have to go home.
That's just me. No. but I think that, and also kind of anticipating your meal times, that's really important for us as a family, because if we get somewhere, queue for 2 hours, get in, and then it's like 30 minutes from lunchtime, nobody wants to do anything because everyone's like, I'm hungry, I need to eat food. So it's all about that timing and that planning. But I think this is a really interesting conversation, because it all really comes back around to how you and your family are perceived by others, which I think is a really great shame. So I think, Moira, you're kind of at a point where, to a point now, looking back on, previous experiences that you've had, you don't really care too much. You've kind of... Care less. And Hummer, I think you kind of just go with the flow. Yeah. I don't know whether I care less or go with the flow. I think I'd like to feel like that, but I'm still very conscious. But it frustrates me no end that people still don't understand what our children kind of have to go through and what a big event it is to take them to certain places. So I think there is still that fundamental issue that it's not them, it's them. Do you know what I mean? It's not our kids, it's, the people around them, and the fact that they're not trained, or they're not exposed, or they don't understand, or they make judgments, or whatever. And I think that is just society the way that it is. I think obviously it's getting better, but it's still in the back of everybody's mind. And also the fact that in so many places there are not those accommodations, and so therefore for us we need to make those accommodations. Moving on from what our considerations are and how we plan, I think the most humorous thing for us, but it's not humorous. The biggest challenge, I think, for the three of us here is how verbose our children have become, and in a hilarious and wonderful way, which maybe not be perceived by people that don't necessarily know them, who've never met them before. So I think just to add some perspective to, this conversation about, us throwing out advice to other parents as to, and our experiences of how we manage things, how we prepare, and so on and so forth. Share with us your experiences of where your kids have, really kind of put you in a position that is, made your ass sweat.
I swear. It's really funny. I mean, now I think it's funny.
After years of therapy.
It's just, you have...
set the scene for us.
Yeah, you have to have a sense of humor in this situation. Otherwise, you would just be a nervous wreck. I've always, I've always tried to be careful about what to say and in a certain situation or how to behave. And I used to think foolishly that, my kids will be mini me, but and they don't come out like that. And that's just shocking. And it's just, I'm still getting to terms with it. So, it can be, so that's something that really keeps my blood running, then
keeps the adrenaline pumping.
Going. Yeah. So it can be like, for example, I remember the time we went to pilgrimage. It was a religious pilgrimage, and we went.
And probably the busiest place that you can ever take children. Right?
And
just to set the scene for people that have never been there and done that. I mean, how many people are we talking about in one place?
Oh my God, like thousands or like a million or something. I mean,
so the ultimate concert or arena area.
Yes. So it's a very conservative place. There are a lot of people, and it's you have to perform certain things in a certain period of time, in a certain, you cannot take a break.
So it's pretty structured.
Yes, it's pretty structured, and I wanted the kids to experience that. I mean, if I had been given the choice, I would not have taken them, but they were with me. And so I was, so we were doing this tawaf. We were circling around Kaaba, and I was worried that, okay, everything goes well. My kids are with me. And my son was young, and I was thinking, oh, he's going to get tired walking so much. So I said, oh, okay, why don't you come on my shoulders and I'll just carry you. And so there was a sea of people in front of me. And he was like, even that was too much. He was like, get a move on, people. And I was like, oh my God. I was looking for the cops. I said, okay, they're going to come and they're not going to arrest you. They're going to arrest me. I said, Heather, just shut up. Don't say that.
So bearing in mind that everyone's saying their prayers and being really mindful and very quiet, and then you have Haider on your shoulders telling everyone to hurry up.
Yes, because he was like, I don't care. I'm hot. I'm sweaty. Everyone part the sea. I need to come. So I said, oh my. So I just, it was constant. But, we got over that. But it's funny that they don't have that reverence for a place or an event or
it doesn't matter where they are.
They're concerned that I'm uncomfortable. Everyone get out of my way so I can be cool and people free.
Get this done.
Yes. It's just funny that way that now when I think about it, I just find it hilarious. But at that point I was freaking out.
Okay, so that is really the ultimate of going to your most uncomfortable place with a million people, and then and you've done it, which is amazing, and you got through it, and now you're a few years down the line, you can see the funny side.
Like any place where they should not be saying certain things, they'll say certain things.
Right.
So 10 years on, if you were to take Haider back there, how would he cope?
I'm hoping, much better than before, because now
I can't say for sure.
Yes, now seeing that, I think people at that place still will have certain tolerance. I mean, that's the mandatory thing, that you're supposed to be patient and tolerant. So I'm hoping, I can get away with that.
So you sent him there to test everyone.
Yes, he was a test. It was a test.
What about you, Moira? What are your most memorable verbose moments?
Well, as you know, you just never know what's going to come out of Callum's mouth at any given time, mostly inappropriate moments. But the tricky thing is, he is, his default mostly is in storytelling mode in his own head.
Mm-hmm. And that's where he feels most comfortable. That's how he settles himself in situations.
Happy. Yeah. And it's very difficult to get him out of that. But it's also difficult to know, even for us sometimes, never mind anybody else, is if you say something to him, he's got a standard list of responses.
Right.
And he pulls one out the bag and hopes it's appropriate, mostly just to shut you up. But he quite possibly is aware that someone said something to him, and he just responds with one of them, but has got no idea what the question was.
Right.
But the other person doesn't know that he doesn't know what they said.
Yeah.
And other times he can be mid-story and you say something and he responds. It's very difficult to know when he's aware and when he's immersed. Mm-hmm. But he's telling his story at all times.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we can be in tricky situations, just like I mentioned earlier, going through passport control, and he's mid-story. We've been standing in a queue, so fair enough, tell your story. And then it's our turn. We approach the desk, we hand over the passports, and he's in a part of the story where he has to say, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry, I'm going to kill you now," or something. And that leads to some strange looks, and we have to just scurry him along.
I've got my badge.
I know. Look at his lanyard.
Yeah.
Oh my God, airports are such tricky places. I mean, as soon as we reached the passport control, and then I was getting the passports out, and they were like, "Oh, mommy, what is this?" I said, "These are passports. We need these to travel." And then my son would ask Mariam, "Is your passport illegal?" And I'm like, why are we discussing this? There's an officer right there. Why are we having, Mariam, she's like, "Mommy, what is an illegal passport?" I said, "No, just," and he's like, "Are you an illegal immigrant, Mariam?" I said, no, everyone, let's drop the conversation. I'm like, why do we do this? Or, when he was little, and I don't even know where he got this from when he was little, and I would be packing to travel, and he's like, "Mommy, where did you put the bomb?" I said, "No." I said, "Why?" I said, "We better have this conversation now than at the airport." So I have this constant fear of sniffer dogs, and I'm like, whenever I go to the airport, I'm like, I'm sure I must have packed like a kilo of cocaine somewhere or something. I'm like, I doubt myself. I doubt like everything. And when the customer officers ask me, "Did you pack these bags yourself?" I have this like,
Did I?
I cannot answer
By
him.
definition, what does that mean? I mean, it's
Like I can honestly, I cannot. I have such doubt on my face. He's looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm laughing, and he's like, this woman is suspicious. And so I'm just, when I clear it, I'm like, every time I'm amazed. I'm like, wow, I cleared the custom.
Victory dance.
I've started doubting myself, and so it's funny with these kids. They just keep you
on your toes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, that is so funny. Too funny. Okay, ladies, thank you for sharing your moments of verboseness with us. Humiliation. Yeah. So just to, finish this episode off, we've been talking about, events and, how to get the most and the best out of, family days, big events, and whatever. What are your top tips for making it through, trying to enjoy it, staying calm? What are the best, what are the best recommendations that you can make to listeners out there who, may be a bit concerned about attending, these things, and how can they best navigate them from our perspectives? Moira, top tips.
Well, I think just probably with any child, fully charged device, drinks, snacks, get there early, get through quickly.
As soon as you're covering everybody else's top tips.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it is. Always have the promise of ice cream at the end.
Oh.
That works for us.
Yes.
And just
what happens when you can't find an ice cream salad?
And just keep reiterating it. It's just round the next corner. We're coming to it.
3 hours later.
They're so exhausted they've forgotten.
Yeah, they've fallen asleep.
Yeah. Just avoid massive crowds. I mean, we've just come back from Istanbul, which was lovely, but we didn't go to everything. Mm-hmm. Because it was so busy. Yeah. And the queues, oh my goodness, I don't know why you would stand in a queue. It was literally, it must have been a mile, kilometre long. And
maybe they had a queen, or no, I was just talking about the the mile long queues for the queen.
Or in Istanbul.
Like in UK they had the long queues. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, as sad as I was about that, I wouldn't have queued for... Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry.
We digress. So anyway, we saw what we wanted to see.
And we're still mourning the Queen.
Yes, I
am. Timing, go when it's quiet. Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah. Huma, over to you.
As Moira said, just plan everything, keep things organized. They're the toys, their devices, their snacks, and also just try not to stress out about it too much. Just stay calm, because the kids can read your energy. If you're calm, then they will hopefully be calm.
Right.
Sometimes we get anxious over really, because we're already anticipating, oh, this is going to happen. But the thing is that when it eventually does happen, we have ruined all that time anticipating it.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
So let's just stay calm, and when it happens, then you can deal with it. So
And just allow all the inappropriate comments, because
Yeah.
later in the day when you're sitting having dinner, you can laugh about it.
Yeah.
Something
It's memory
brightens,
making.
brightens up the day.
It does brighten up the
Hashtag
day.
blessed.
And on that note, thank you for joining us for this episode of This Life podcast. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining This Life podcast, brought to you by Learn Autism. To learn more about autism, check out their website at learnautism.com. You can download this podcast wherever you find your favourites, and if you prefer to watch us, all links are below in the description. See you next week, and thanks for listening.